Hey everyone, welcome back to the Granny Square Stitches series. Every week I take a card out of this deck and make it for you. There are 50 cards, so this is 50 weeks. We are up to week number 24. This is the Granny Spike stitch. So Granny stitch with a twist. If you turn it over, let's look at the chart quickly for a minute. You're gonna see this extra tall double crochet. This is your spike stitch, and what it is showing you is that you are taking one of the double crochets in a traditional granny cluster, and you are, instead of putting it into the chain space, you're going to come all the way down and put it into the center double crochet of the cluster 2 rows below. So I also wanted to take this opportunity to remind you all that in the card deck, like in the box, is this little booklet, and it's got lots of instructions. And even though there's no special symbol in here for a spike stitch, there is instructions for how to do a single crochet spike and a double crochet spike. So when in doubt, your little booklet is going to be your best friend. Okay, reading all the words on the back of the card. To work the square shown on the card, make 17 chain and follow chart, working in sequence. 1 row yarn A, then continue in 2 row stripes of yarns B, C, and A until square. When working last row, substitute each one chain space with a half double crochet into center double crochet of next 3 double crochet group. We'll go over that when we get there. And then we're going to create the single crochet edging like we've been doing all along. To work the stitch pattern in any size, your starting chain needs to be a multiple of 4, and then you add 5. Follow the chart, working until you have reached the desired size when working last row, and then it goes into that substitution again. All right, so this has got some pretty bright colors, so I have pulled in some pretty bright colors of Anthem yarn. So this is the yarn I've been using for all these squares. It is from Cascade Yarns, 100% acrylic yarn, worsted weight. I have got dark denim, coral, and agate green as my colors today. And looking at the chart, we're going to start with our dark denim. So I need 17 chains. I'm going to put a slip knot on my hook and then make 17 chains. That's 17. Now hopefully you guys have gotten used to the fact that I like to use stitch markers to denote my first and last stitches. Because we're working with a whole lot of double crochets, we are starting each row with a chain of 3. So I will be marking that starting chain with my stitch markers. It just helps me find it when I need to stitch into it at the end. All right, looking at our chart, we've just made our chain, and now we are going to start working into it. So I need to find the 1, 2, 3, 4, the 5th chain from the hook. I'm going to put a granny cluster into that chain. I'm going to chain 1. Now ignore this pink line for now. It doesn't concern us until the next row. This, can you see underneath that pink line, there is a purple circle. So that's a chain. So there's a chain in between this cluster and our next cluster. So I'm going to make a granny cluster. So that's 3 double crochets in the 5th chain from the hook. I'm going to chain 1. I'm going to skip 1, 2, 3 chains. And then in the next chain, I'm going to do a granny cluster again. Chain 1, skip 3, granny cluster. Chain 1, skip 3, and I'm going to double crochet in the last chain, changing color to pink. Clear as mud. As you know, I like to work into my back bumps, so I'm going to turn my chain over. There's my first bump. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook into that chain and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the second 2. That's my first double crochet. Before I go any further, I am going to mark the chain that I need to work into at the end of the next row. So this is the V for my double crochet. This is a chain that I want to work into. Sorry, I know it's a dark color. You probably can't see it very well, but that is a chain that I need to work into at the end of row 2. So I'm going to put my stitch marker there. Now I can complete this cluster. So I need 2 more double crochets into that same chain. I'm going to chain 1, and then I'm going to come down to my starting chain. I'm going to skip 3. 1, 2, 3. And into that 4th one, 3 double crochets. I'm going to chain 1. Come back down to my chain. I'm going to skip 3 again. 1, 2, 3 into that 4th chain. I'm going to put 1 more cluster. I'm going to chain 1, skip 3 again. 1, 2, 3 into my last chain. I'm going to put a double crochet, and I am going to change color to my pink. So I insert and yarn over and pull up a loop, and then I'm going to yarn over and pull through the first 2. Now I'm going to pause and get my pink. And as I've been doing lately, my trick for color changes is I take the yarn that I'm changing out of, changing from, and I lay it over my hook, and then I get my new yarn and lay that over my hook, and I pull my new yarn through all those loops on my hook. And now I can chain 3 with my new yarn. 1, 2, 3. I am going to put my second stitch marker in that chain 3 so I know where to stitch when I come back. Okay, so now we're going to start doing some of our spikes. So I'm here, I've just done my chain 3. I am going to find that first chain space from the row below, and I'm going to double crochet into the chain space. And then I'm going to put my second double crochet into the middle of the skipped chains from my starting chain. So remember, we skipped 3, 1, 2, 3 into that middle one. I'm going to double crochet, and then I'm going to put a third double crochet into the chain space. I'm going to chain 1 and hop over this cluster, and then I'm going to repeat that process in the next chain 1 space. So let's look at what that looks like. So this is my first chain space. So I'm going to yarn over, insert into that space, and double crochet. And now I need to come down to my chain and find the middle skip chain. So I've got 1, 2, 3. This is the bump that I need to work into. So I'm going to yarn over. It's a little trickier for me because I'm working into my back bars, but I'm going to find that bump. Oops. And then I'm going to yarn over, pull up a loop. You've got to pull it extra tall. I'm going to complete my double crochet. And now I'm just going to scooch those out of the way because I need to get back into that chain 1 space for my last double crochet. Now I'm going to chain 1, I'm going to hop over this cluster, and we're going to repeat the process in the next chain 1 space. So we start with just a regular double crochet into that chain 1 space, and then I'm going to come down to my chain, and I'm going to get my hook in there, yarn over, pull up an extra long loop, and complete my double crochet. Scooch them to the side so that I can find that initial chain 1 space and put my third double crochet. One more time, we're going to chain 1, come over to this next chain 1 space, double crochet, come all the way down to the chain, find that middle chain, insert, pull up a big long loop, and complete your double crochet. Scooch that to the side, find that original chain 1 space and put your 3rd double crochet in there. So that's what we're looking at. At the end, we're going to chain 1 and double crochet. We're not changing color. We're double crocheting into the starting chain, so that's where my stitch marker is. So I'm going to take that out and just hold my finger where it was, so that I can easily find the V of my chain and put a double crochet in there. Now we're going to chain 3. I'm going to mark the top of that chain because I'm going to have to work into it. And then I'm going to turn my work. And we are basically repeating that. But this time, instead of coming down to the chain, we are going to be dealing with these clusters here. So if we look at the card, here's where we are. We've just chained 3. So we're going to make our cluster in that chain 1 space like we did in row 2, but our spike goes into the middle double crochet of the cluster of row 1, not the chain. So that's going to be significantly easier than trying to dig out your chain. So this is my first chain 1 space. So just a regular double crochet goes in there. Then I'm going to yarn over. These are my 3 double crochets of the cluster from row 1. So I want to work into this middle one. Yarn over, pull up a big long loop. Complete your double crochet. And then scooch those stitches aside to find that chain 1 space again. And we're going to chain 1 to hop over this next cluster, and we're going to repeat. So it starts with a regular double crochet. I'm going to come down. If you need to scooch your previous spike cluster aside to get to see all 3 double crochets, and go right ahead. This is the middle one, so that's where my hook's going to go. Yarn over, pull up a nice long loop, and complete that double crochet. And then go back into the chain space for your 3rd double crochet. Chain 1 and repeat 1 more time. And now we're ending with a double crochet in our last stitch. That's where my stitch marker was. And we're going to change color to our 3rd color. So let's grab that green. Pull that through. And I can chain 3 with my new color and replace my stitch marker. So I'm going to cut off my blue because I don't think there's any point in trying to pull it all the way up the side. If we look at the front, according to this, so we get 2 rows of pink, 2 rows of green, 2 rows of blue, 1 row of pink. So I'll keep my pink attached for now and evaluate if I want to stretch it all the way up the side when we get there. But this is your repeat. So you're just going to repeat this row that we just did, changing color every 2 rows. So I'm going to do 2 rows of green, 2 rows of the dark blue, and then we will come back and we'll do the last row together. See you then. I am ready to do my final row, and I decided not to pull my yarn up the side. So I'm going to have quite a few ends to weave in, but we'll deal with that. So I am going to redo my color change. So in this row, we are substituting chain spaces for half double crochets. Just going to put stitch marker there. And what they mean by that, I want to show you the front of the card because it kind of shows it better. So we've still got our usual spikes, But then do you see how there's a stitch here that comes down into the middle of the cluster? Like normally we would do a chain one and we would skip over this cluster, but this time we're not chaining and we're just half double crocheting into the middle of this cluster and then going straight into a spike cluster. And it just kind of helps, I don't know, seal it up, solidify it a bit. Otherwise you'd have these big gaps. So we're going to start with our normal cluster. So double crochet into the chain one space, then we come down, do our spiked double crochet into the middle of the cluster from 2 rows below. And now normally I would chain, but I'm not going to. I'm going to find the middle stitch of this cluster and I'm going to half double crochet. So I'm going to insert, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. And now I'm in my next chain space. So I'm going to do my spiked cluster. And this is where we do our half double crochet again. Remember, no chaining. We're just going to half double crochet into the middle stitch of that cluster. And then we do a spiked cluster. One more half double crochet into this cluster. And then we can double crochet into the top of our turning chain. There it is. And that is the square complete, other than the border. Now they've put the green around the border, so I think we should do that. What I'm gonna do now is fasten this off and weave in all my ends, and then we can come back and start working on the border together. All ready to start my border. So this is another one that's probably gonna need a little bit of blocking to just kind of stretch it and get it into shape, but not a big deal. Okay, we are going to be using this agate green color. So I'm just putting a slip knot on my hook. And then I'm gonna come to my first stitch and I'm just gonna insert my hook. My yarn, my working yarn is kind of behind my work, and we're gonna slip stitch, chain one, and single crochet all into that same stitch. And I'm going to mark that stitch. Okay, let's count our stitches here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So that's one fewer than some of the other squares, but I think we're just gonna go for it. I don't particularly feel like doing math today. So just a single crochet in every stitch all the way across. And don't forget this chain, this turning chain is your last stitch. Oops. So I took out my stitch marker. I'm going to put my final stitch in this turning chain. I'm going to chain one, turn my work, and place my first stitch of the side back in that same turning chain stitch that we just worked. So now we need to have 14 stitches down the side. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 rows. If I do 2 per row, that would be 16. So that's awkward. So my math's not going to work out 100%. So I'm just gonna go for it and single crochet where I think it needs a single crochet, and then we'll count after. So I've already got one up there. I'm going to put one more down here. Remember to try and pick up a couple strands of yarn where you can. I feel like this needs a third stitch somewhere in the middle here. And then my final stitch needs to be in the, basically in the chain at the bottom. Okay, let's just count. First of all, let's do a visual look. Looks okay. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It is what it is. I will worry about inconsistencies when I have to join all my squares together. All right, I'm going to do my corner. So that's a chain 1 and a single crochet right back into that corner. And then we should have 15 along, or 14 along the bottom. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 15, 14. How many do we need? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Well, we might have inconsistent edges. I can fix that at the top though by adding another stitch along the top. So along the bottom here, I've got one in the corner, one in like around the chain, one where this spike came in, another one around the chain, another one where my cluster is. I'm going to go around the chain, go in where that spike is, go around the chain, in where my cluster is, go around the chain. You get the idea. And then we've got our turning chain. So one around the chain, and then my final stitch is gonna have to go through my turning chain, which is tricky. And then we can make our corner. And do our single crochets upside. So I'll join you at this corner and we will sort out the mismatch of stitch count, because along the bottom we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So I need to add one more over here, but I can do that at this corner. I will meet you there. So I'm just placing my last stitch of that side, and I'm going to make myself a corner here and add that stitch that I need. So I'm just going to come over, get that tail out of the way, and then I can slip stitch to this beginning stitch. Magically, I have added a stitch along the top, and now I can do my second round of border. Okay, I will do that, and I will meet you back when it's all finished. And there we have it, another square all finished. So that is the granny spike. And next week, we're going to be doing the lark's foot, which looks very similar, doesn't it? All right, so I will see you next week, and have a great week, everyone. Bye-bye.